En Añasco viste una raza estrella que le dio fama y fortuna a la isla bella. En la honra capital de tu montura hay pinta de señorial cabalgadura.
Pasa, pasa, vuelve y pasa, pasa un vino. Pasa, pasa, vuelve y pasa, pasa un vino. Pasa, pasa, vuelve y pasa, pasa un vino.
My name is Yesenia López, and I'm director of the New Jersey Hispanic Research and Information Center here at the North Public Library. Thank you. And as director of the HRIC, I basically oversee the daily activities of the three components of the HRIC. And that is, for some of us who don't know, La Sala Hispanoamericana, located on the first floor. La Sala es nuestro salón. Estaba creado para nuestra comunidad in the late 1980s. And it is where you're going to find the largest collection of Spanish language books of any public library in the state of New Jersey. It is where our Spanish dominant patrons go to get their questions answered in the language that they understand. They're going to find, se van a conseguir con el staff bilingüe y computadoras configuradas en español para nuestros clientes que lo necesitan en su idioma. That's one component of the HRIC and the oldest component, el más viejo. And then the other is the Hispanic Reference Collection. And the Hispanic Reference Collection is a collection of newspaper clippings, oral histories, and a bilingual book collection of books written by and about New Jersey Latinos. And the last component is the Puerto Rican Community Archive. And that is where we document, by way of the archives, the history of the oldest and the largest Latino community in the state of New Jersey, the Puerto Rican community. And where we'll talk about donors, we'll talk with donors to the archive a little bit later. I'm also responsible for Latino programming, and I'll speak to you a little bit more about Latino programming and what we've done, but I want to welcome a member of North Public Library's Board of Trustees, Don Miguel Don Mike Rodriguez. Yes, he just arrived. Thank you. We share some welcome words on behalf of the trustees.
Hi, ladies and gentlemen. Muchas gracias por ustedes estar aquí hoy el día presente en este día. Y ustedes saben, I'm sorry that I started in Spanish because really, where will we celebrate this month? Who can say to me what we celebrate? Okay, si estamos celebrando el mes de la hispanidad nacional, de la nación, sería para mí una falta de respeto comunicarme en inglés. Y yo puedo comunicarme en los dos idiomas. I say that I want to start my welcome to all of you really in Spanish because we celebrate the Hispanic month and it's a national Spanish month. We have to be proud. ¿Estamos contentos de estar celebrando el mes de la hispanidad? Y tenemos que estar contentos, no celebrar el mes de la hispanidad, un mes, porque esos son los derechos que nosotros tenemos a nivel de esta nación. De lo que tenemos que estar contentos es de las contribuciones que todos nosotros hemos hecho a esta nación. Y los logros nuestros son parte del progreso de esta nación. Sin los hispanos y sin los latinos, que somos todos hispanos, esta nación no pudiera funcionar. It's very important for us to be aware about our contribution and our apport to the United States. Nosotros, los hispanos, somos una fuerza de poder y somos una fuerza que lo que tenemos es que trabajar unidos para lograr la fuerza. Acuérdense que en la unidad está la fuerza. Si nosotros tuviéramos ese tipo de pensamiento y pudiéramos, aunque sea 2 veces al año o 3 veces al año, reunirnos, platicar y poder dejarles saber a las nuevas generaciones. Yo no me preocupo por mí, yo soy un teenager de 19, no, soy de 91, pero sé quién soy y he logrado en el tiempo que Dios me ha dado estar en este planeta ayudar a mejorar la condición de vida de otro ser humano, que es lo que tenemos que todos nosotros pensar. No pensar en nosotros, yo no pienso en mí, yo pienso en mis hijos, mis nietos y mis bisnietos, porque mis hijos, ya yo he visto a mi 4ª generación, pero voy a salirme de la familia. Lo que les quiero decir a ustedes es que las actividades que se llevan a cabo en esta institución de la cual yo soy miembro de la Junta de Directores, el único puertorriqueño miembro nombrado por el alcalde al board de esta institución es esta persona que está aquí. Pero yo no represento al alcalde, yo lo represento a ustedes, yo represento a mi comunidad, yo represento a mi pueblo. What I say is that I'm one of the board members of this institution, and I'm proud to be here, and I'm proud to represent my community, the Hispanic community, in the city of Newark and in the state of New Jersey. Now, today, you are welcome. Our board, I represent the board of our public library, and today ustedes van a disfrutar de todo lo que esta gran líder, esta persona que coordina todos estos eventos, y ella le habrá indicado o le va a indicar todas las actividades que se van a llevar durante este mes. Y yo los invito a todos ustedes que para el día 4, que es el sábado próximo, estén aquí, hagan acto de presencia. Vamos a tener una actividad muy bonita y una actividad donde se van a otorgar becas a estudiantes de familias de bajos recursos, principalmente hispanos, porque lo que nosotros tratamos es de mejorar la condición de la nueva generación. La nueva generación es la que va a continuar las luchas que nosotros comenzamos. And remember always, the struggle never finishes. And I'm part of that. And what we have to continue is to help the young generation and to create more opportunity and more respect from us. All right? Los quiero mucho, para mí es un placer y muchas gracias por la oportunidad que me ha dado el Señor.
Thank you, Don Mike. And I'm going to recognize individuals who have donated archival materials to the Puerto Rican Community Archive. One of those is Don Mike and our speakers up here, Margarita Muñiz. I'm sure we have your records there. Gloria Montealegre, we have some of your records in the archive, and I'm very happy that we have you all here joining us to talk about that. So now I'd like to invite, if we will, Assistant Director for Special Collections, Ms. Dale Colson, to give some welcome words as well.
Good afternoon and welcome to the Newark Public Library's 2025 Latino Celebration. The Newark Public Library committed to serving the growing Spanish-speaking community back in the late 70s. That's a long time ago. We are happy to do that and continue with that. Since then, the services and collections have grown continuously along with the Latino population. La Sala Hispanoamericana was established over 35 years ago in 1989 as a main service point for the Spanish-speaking patrons. In response to the need to document the history of New Jersey's Latino communities, the NJHRIC was created 25 years ago in 2000 with the Puerto Rican Community Archives and Hispanic Reference Collection, which Yesenia talked about earlier. And these resources together make up the largest collection of Spanish language books in any public library in New Jersey, and it's growing. It's a growing collection. We're happy to be able to serve the many communities. Today, the library is excited to share that there's a construction project almost done, taking place to create a single space where one can find all of the books and resources and fantastic staff, some are in the back there, in one amazing space. We're excited too that this will include a wonderful space for children and families too. And we hope our new friend Donovan comes back to see us. Yes, the future of HRIC continues in new and important ways. Additionally, Newark Public Library is proud to present the annual Latino Celebration exhibition just outside this doorway here. This exhibit chronicles the history of the HRIC and was curated by Yesenia López, Huber Ayala, and a team of archival assistants and interns that include Catherine Silva Sedano, Michelle Amatekpour, Marisol Caliente, Michelle Lema Lema, and Jane Terran. It's on display through January, so if you don't get a chance to see it today, please come back and take in this wonderful exhibit. Today is the beginning of the celebration, so follow us on social media and join us again for upcoming programs. And we thank you for your continued support of the Newark Public Library Latino Celebration. Thank you.
Thank you, Dale. And now I'd like to invite our very helpful friends of the HRIC. We have our chair, Ernesto Diaz Guerrero, to share some words on behalf of the friends.
Buenas tardes, everybody. How many of you are very proud to be Latinos? And thanks to Yesenia, and thank you to the Board of Trustees of the library. Miguel was having some wine with me in Don Pepe, you know, that's where he spoke so eloquently, that helped a lot. But Miguel is an institution for our community. So we're very proud, Miguel, Don Mikey, to have you here and always supporting all the efforts of Yesenia and the members of the library. If there is a time that we should be very proud of our Hispanic heritage, it's these times that we're living today. You turn on the television, you can see how many people are being targeted in our community. You see the constant persecution of people of color. So if there is a time that we have to be together, unified, as Don Mikey mentioned, is now. And the HRIC has been the example of that. I was with the board members last week. We walked to the new space. Guys, when it's open in a few months, you will be impressed of all the work that the Friends of the HRIC, that Yesenia, that people that support the community had done to open that space. You will be really impressed because it has been almost $3 million that have been spent through the years to support finally a space that displays with honor the accomplishments of the Latino community. So thank you, Yesenia, for that and supporting all of that. So we're looking forward. Miguel and the board is working, and Yesenia and Dale with the opening of that space. I am sure you will receive an email with a specific date when it's going to be the opening ceremony, and we're looking forward to participate on that. With that, I want to say thank you and welcome the guests, and let's pay attention now to the program. Thank you very much.
Gracias, Ernesto. So, because I like to stay busy, overseeing the daily activities of the HRIC is not enough for me. I am also responsible for coordinating Latino programming here at the library. So for example, this summer, we had, together with our community partners, hosted a celebration of La Herencia Ecuatoriana for the 5th consecutive year. And we hosted a 9-week bilingual sewing workshop series called Teens in Stitches, Jóvenes Entre Agujas. And it ended with a fashion show held jointly with NJ PAC's Hispanic Heritage Month celebration. It was in this space, and we had an audience of over 225 guests. It was amazing. The teens got to show off the clothes that they made and stay for some cultural presentations that they had. It was wonderful. And I was happy that we were able to coordinate that partnership. And then coming up, Don Mike mentioned that October 4th, we're going to have Celebrating Latino Voices and Scholars, right? In addition to the scholarship presentation, we're gonna have a book presentation by author Alba Prado, who wrote Gabby's Awakening. And I hope that you all can come back and bring your teens, right? We have a special gift for some of the teens that arrive. We'll be waiting for them, and we will hear from Gabby and the North Borinquen Lions Club offering the scholarships. Additionally, we got on October 15th, in partnership with Outreach Strategies Consulting, vamos a celebrar la herencia latina con nuestros adultos mayores, con juegos, baile, manualidades, comida y narración de cuentos. Don't miss that. It's a Wednesday, 12 o'clock. Please bring, this time we're going to bring our elders, right? Bring them out and make sure that they enjoy learning and contributing to La Herencia Latina here. And then on November 12th, we are going to be celebrating Voices of Resistance with a special screening of Colonization is Extinction. It's a powerful documentary exploring Puerto Rico's history of colonialism, the ongoing economic crisis, and the voices of activists fighting for justice, followed by a talk back with the documentary producer Walter Alomar. So come back on November 12th as well. And on December 13th, we're going to be partnering with North's Hispanic Commission yet again, and other community partners for the 4th signature holiday event, Celebramos Juntos la Navidad. So mark your calendars, December 13th. Eso también se llena. This room fills up with over 200 people for that holiday celebration. So make sure you're a part of that. And because that's not enough, we're going to continue the celebration past the new year into lo que se llama las octavistas. We'll be celebrating the Coquito Masters competition again. We all like that. Round of applause. That's going to be on January 24th. So please make sure you come back on January 24th. And stay tuned. As Dale said, we got our website, our social media. If you want to take your phones out, I will not be mad. Follow us on Instagram. It's our acronyms at NJHRIC. So you can stay tuned for the progress in the room on the construction project and our upcoming programs. Now, I'd like to thank the following for all of their support and guidance in making this celebration and exhibition a success. It's our Assistant Director for Special Collections, Dale Colston. Thank you. We have Assistant Director for Development and her team, Janet Mateo, and HRIC co-founders, Ingrid Betancourt and Dr. Olga Jimenez de Wagenheim. Please give them a round of applause. It is their vision that made this a reality. I also like to thank our NJHRIC staff, volunteers, and summer interns. Please recognize Aurelia, who's busy working. Yes, thank you. And Hoover Ariala, who's here doing the tech for me. We also have our Emma Reyes and Daniel Vasquez on our team. And our archival assistant, our Catherine Silva Sedano. And then we have our co-curators and our summer interns. Now these guys were digging deep in the archives, looking for materials to include in our collection. They worked with us over the summer, something like 8 weeks. We were meeting every week to kind of review what needs to be included, help with captions and the like, and I really appreciate all their time because it's a lot of work. And so in addition to the people, the interns mentioned, we also have Fabian Paredes, one of our former archival assistants. Thank you. And Yuka Duarte, who helped along the process as well. And I always like to recognize the team behind the scenes. My amazing library colleagues who helped make this all come together so very nicely. That's our finance. We go for finance. Our IT department, our maintenance and security team. Thank you all. Yep. And of course, our colleagues and everyone who made help with the publicity, right? If you shared our post on social media, you called somebody and let them know that they need to come here. Thank you all, because this is the reason we're doing it for our Latino community. So thank you. Gracias por decir presente todo el día, huh? I want to recognize a couple of people in our audience and members who, she said to me today, of course I was going to be here. I'm not going to miss it. Margarita Muñiz, thank you so much for coming always to our program. Our community partner, Martina Nevado, was here. Thank you. She was the one who helped direct the fashion shows, the workshop series in the summer, so thank you for coming. We have members of the Friends of HRIC. Former Judge Mina Milan, thank you for being here. We have Iris, and we have Dr. Mercedes Valle. Thank you guys for being here. And if I missed anyone, I'm forgetful. I'm really sorry. It's not on purpose. So, let's talk about Latino celebrations at the library, right? They're held every year with an exhibition and a series of public programs that starts with Hispanic Heritage Month. But as Don Mike alluded to, that's not enough. Nosotros aquí celebramos durante el año entero, right? We have different programs. I just explained that we have a lineup all the way through January, and the exhibit is on display through January as well. And get this, once that new space is open, we're gonna have our own exhibit gallery. So it's not coming down in January, it's gonna be up year round for everybody to see, so yes. Now this year's theme, HRIC at 25 years, what's next for Jersey Latinos? ¿Qué sigue para los Latinos de Jersey? Reflects on the 25-year legacy through early brochures, rare photographs, the support of the Friends of the HRIC, all while showcasing community voices, Latino programming, Spanish language book display that highlight the center's lasting impact. Y con la mirada hacia el futuro, los visitantes descubrirán nuevos espacios, más recursos digitales y un compromiso renovado para los próximos 25 años. Additionally, the music that we were listening to came right out of our archives. They are recordings of vinyl albums that were donated by our HRIC co-founder, Dr. Olga Jimenez de Wagenheim. So during our reception, we'll be playing some more of that. If you like what you hear, let us know so we can definitely incorporate it into more programming going forward. Also, displayed on the walls is artwork from the North Public Library's Puerto Rican posters and fine print collection. Beautiful posters from the Vertical Division, most of them, but check them out when you get to tour the exhibit, as well as we have renderings of what the new space is gonna look like, and we have posters of past Latino Celebration exhibits all on display. Now together, the exhibition and the series of programs honor our past while envisioning the next 25 years of growth, innovation, and community connection. So for today's program, I wanted to remind everyone that the HRIC reflects Latino communities statewide. So I purposely invited a representative from Southern New Jersey and my hometown, Camden, and a representative from Central New Jersey to join the discussion on the importance of documenting the history of Latinos in the state. Yes. Both guests are archival donors who recognize the need and the importance of documenting the existence of our Latino community. So they made the decision to add their papers to the historical records, and they each participated in the Latino Life Stories Oral History Project, and for that, I thank you both. And we're gonna use that website actually to introduce them. You wanna join us? Yeah. So we have Ana Rivera, who was born in New Brunswick, New Jersey in 1959. Ms. Rivera works as a community activist. Her activism began in the late 1980s when she started volunteering for a youth program organized at the Puerto Rican Action Board after spending 2 years as a full-time unpaid volunteer. Ms. Rivera was hired by the Puerto Rican Action Board to help run the newly formed Hispanic Youth in Progress program. She also worked in other capacities for the Puerto Rican Action Board, notably with their HIV/AIDS prevention groups for 15 years. In 1999, Ms. Rivera started working for the newly formed Hispanic Directors Association of New Jersey as the outreach assistant for the Pro Kids campaign. The campaign was a strategic project to enroll 10,000 3- and 4-year-old children into preschools, which was successfully in reaching their goal. Through her work with HDA, Ms. Rivera also got deeply involved in prisoners' rights and as a result helped organize statewide roundtables to identify and address issues impacting the Latino community. Her community and civil rights activism has focused on improving the lives of children and addressing discrimination within her community. Ms. Rivera is also an avowed music lover who enjoys working as a DJ, performing under the name DJ Lady C. Thank you. And we have José Delgado, who was born in Rio Predas, Puerto Rico, and was raised in Puerto Rico, France, and the United States as a result of his father's career in the U.S. military. It was through these multiple moves and the difficulties he had adjusting to the language requirements in the different schools that Mr. Delgado became interested in the issues of bilingual education. He graduated from the Richard Stockton College of New Jersey with a bachelor's degree in sociology and began working as a counselor for the Educational Opportunity Fund at Rutgers University. That's EOF, guys. Rutgers University, Camden. Mr. Delgado noticed that he was counseling intelligent Latino students whose lack of English language proficiency was hindering their advancement. He attributed the problem to a flawed school system and became involved with Board of Education meetings in order to address the underlying problems in the system. In 1990, he joined the New Jersey Advisory Council on Bilingual Education and in the years since has been a tireless advocate for bilingual education and has given testimony on the subject at the state and national level. Before retiring, Mr. Delgado worked as an investigator for the public defender. Thank you. So if we can go back to the slideshow. The next slide. I just wanted to give everybody an overview of the collections that they donated. And so we have a couple of abstracts, right? Cuqui, Anna Cuqui Rivera donated the records. She reached out to me to donate the records of the Hispanic Directors Association of New Jersey because she can tell us why. But I just wanted to share kind of an overview of what you're going to find in that collection, right? And we have the abstract here that it is about 47 boxes, and the dates range from 1976 to 2001. It is of an organization that is no longer active, so we are very grateful that she was conscious enough to donate those records. Because I was speaking to someone just yesterday who said, "You're right, I never heard of HDA." Right? And so I don't know how long it has been. 2009. And so, you know, it's already history, right? And so it's important that we have that there because I said, well, it did exist and we got the record, right? Because I bring receipts. Yeah, thank you. And then we have the José Delgado papers. His papers, they date from 1885 to 2008. Who here has documents as old as 1885, right? We do. He donated about 15 boxes. And his collections reflect the work that he has done throughout his career. And some personal papers. That's where that 1885 documents came from. But thank you both for those records. And that's an overview of what you're going to find in their collection. Go to the next slide. So I shared these documents with them, and I wanted to share it with you all to ask that they give us a few words about the significance of that particular item. And so we have José Delgado. It looks like a flyer of the San Juan Bautista parade. Could you share anything about that?
Well, I don't know about this one, but many of the documents that I submitted had to do with organizations. And the San Juan Bautista parade was the first parade of its kind in New Jersey. So the people in Camden, which is oftentimes referred to as a colony by the North Hispanic community. So I'm from the colony of Camden.
We are.
So anyway, many of the documents that I submitted just recorded the different events when they occurred. I think that this may be part of a book that's produced with the parade, and inside there's all kinds of information. You'd be surprised the kind of information you get when you get to those programs for different activities.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that, right? And I'm going to point out things that we forget about, right? Cortesía de Lamboy Furniture Stores, it says there, right? I don't know if Lamboy Furniture Stores still exist, but we know that it existed at some point now because those papers were donated. And I want to add to what you said about the information that you find in these ad journals, because we have tons of ad journals actually in our collection. And they're a great resource for genealogy. There's a great resource for recognizing individuals. So in addition to the information held in these ad journals with the program itself, the organization that held them, the individuals whose bios are included in the programs, we have ads in there for companies that maybe don't exist anymore, or companies that do exist and you want to go reference, right? And you want to go patronize their businesses. So ad journals are really important. Do not throw them away. And we have to really figure out how to start capturing digital ad journals, because that's what a lot of organizations are doing now. We're not printing things up anymore. You have to scan it with your phone, scan a QR code to get an ad journal. Just a little note there, right? Let's start figuring out how to make sure and capture that history as well.
Those programs are also interesting in that if you want to look at the economic or the business development of a community, go through the program and you can see how the business part of the community grew. How did it start and what kind of businesses are now being advertised? So you can look at it that way too.
Yep, thank you. Next slide. So Cuqui, we have here Programa de Ciudadanía, what? Pour that word up. Programa de Ciudadanía Americana. Could you tell me anything about this?
That was a program that literally started in the Puerto Rican Action Board that sits in New Brunswick now, sits in East Brunswick, with locations still in New Brunswick. And we were trying to get people back then to learn English so that they could pass the citizenship test at that time. And then it expanded through many other Latino community-based organizations, of which the Hispanic Directors Association of New Jersey kind of umbrellaed. Like here in Newark, La Casa de Don Pedro is its own agency. And so the Hispanic Directors Association was set up to take Ray Ocasio, Ramon Rivera, now Peter Rosario, and he would be the member of the Hispanic Directors Association, not the staff or the programs, so that we looked for all of the directors throughout New Jersey that had Latino CBOs, and we asked them what was their message, what was their struggle, and we tried to develop statewide concepts for the governor's administration to consider in health and education and criminal justice and housing and immigration and the like. So we were kind of like a central voice for C3 nonprofits who could not necessarily speak to state governmental entities, and that kind of grew out of that and many other programs that the agencies themselves were already running on the ground.
Thank you. Question? We were going to hold the questions, but let's do it.
We're kind of sitting in this right now. Latino CBOs are struggling very much to keep their doors open, and not only did this organization dissolve, but so did a number of those organizations. At its height, it may have been about 30, 35 Latino CBOs throughout New Jersey. And there's always a fight in the state government to figure out who's going to get the money. And under the Center for Hispanic Research and Development, CHPRD,
Center for Hispanic Policy, Research and Development.
Angie Armand of the day, would fund Latino agencies. But she herself struggled with funding, maintaining funding for the Latino community. And these were some of the very large fights. They would take maybe like a $5 million budget and turn it into $1.5 million. So here he is starting up an agency, and he just hired her like 6 months ago, and now he got to fire her. So there was almost every administration we've had this war that the Latino community is more than here, and that we need to serve our community in a culturally and appropriate way as we serve the larger community as well. And that's No. So this organization was an umbrella of members, right? That was in 2009. I would say that right now, there's something called the Latino Action Network Foundation. All right, so it's kind of a bit of an evolution. It took on its own other ways, but it still does the same thing. It still looks for member agencies, but it took a while to get ourselves back on track. I've been involved since before. I was the first hire of the Hispanic Directors Association under its director, Daniel Santo Pietro. And the founder of that organization is Guillermo Biti Maldonado, who I can tell you is maybe the father of the Latino movement here in New Jersey. And it took a couple of years, but I'm the outreach director at this time for the Latino Action Network Foundation. So we deal with the member agencies, we deal with the same kinds of public statements, but we're now doing policy roundtable reports on mental health, housing, immigration, education. We have a C4, which does a lot of the political work, where the C4 is a kind of a lobbying, politically connected group. The C4 literally is the main plaintiff in the desegregation lawsuit against the Department of Education right now, in a class action lawsuit that started in 2018. And we can talk more about that as well, but we're very active. We didn't go away. And the C4 kind of held us all together in different ways, because the association was more just nonprofits. The C4 was more the Colombian community, Puerto Rican, Guatemala, Mexico, and all of that. It was those, and it was experts from the other communities: health, education, housing, human services, children's services. So that would look at the Latino landscape in New Jersey and fight for its progress, if that's helpful. We're still here. We're far from going away. So we were an outgrowth in some ways. We was the next level or the next evolution of Congreso Boricua, the statewide kind of stuff, right? We know that Lydia Valencia is still here. We know that she sits in Lakewood and she's got a small businesses over there. And I think even Mike Rodriguez was involved with Congreso Boricua back in the day. But we did not have any connection to them as far as archives and files and things like that.
We do in the archive have some references, some materials related, not a lot, not as a collection. And if you want, we could talk offline because I did meet with Lydia Valencia to see about those records. So I did make an effort to find those. Yeah, so we can definitely follow up on that. Next slide. And so here we have the José Delgado papers and information about his mail bid. Can you speak a little bit about that?
Oh, the mayoral race? Well, that was very interesting time for me. Really, the campaign was really a community campaign. The community began meeting in a basement, a church basement, Fatima Church, and they had a primary. We had a primary, and I was selected. And as a result, the community came together, and we did very, very well. Shocked everybody, including the Democratic machine. And it was an exciting time. I take very little credit for that campaign. I referred to myself as the spokesperson of the community. I did the best I could. We did very well. Like I said, everybody was very surprised. And I think it started the ball rolling politically. And a few years later, someone else was elected mayor. That didn't go too well, but somebody else got elected mayor. And now we have representation on city council. The only bad part about it currently is that they're associated with the machine, the political machine, and there's very little community activism, as was evident when I ran in 1990.
Yep. And here's a pamphlet that we found in the HDA&J records, What You Should Know About Hate Crimes. I specifically picked this document out, but do you have anything you'd like to share on that? Yeah.
So, I was literally the co-commissioner of Middlesex County Human Relations Commission throughout the 90s. And we were looking at hate crimes from grassroots all the way up to the state. The Middlesex County Human Relations Commission was actually key in creating the State Human Relations Council in helping writing and drafting the bill. It's kind of withered away as it went. So did the Office of Biased Crimes at that time. One of the very serious things that I'm heavily involved with is the transformation of the criminal legal system, and we'll talk about that probably later on, because we're still staying in the 90s right now. But there was a lot to do with hate crime, and whatever was done back then needs to be reimagined now. But I have that stuff too, by the way. I didn't realize you found that in the box. But there's a lot to do there.
Yeah, the only difference now, in those days, we went to government to get help against hate crime. Now it's the other way around. We're looking at government and saying, where is this hate coming from? Or ignited or fueled. And it's not from the local organizations, it's from the government. So that's one of the big changes, and something that we have to look at and realize it's a different problem. It's the same issue, but a different problem.
That's probably the most serious conversation we should have, given time.
What I shared earlier, before the program started, I shared with Jose my reason for selecting this item to share is because I'm sure you've all hear it, right? But I kind of get I kind of get tired of hearing how awful things are getting, right? How bad things are becoming today. And I sit back, of course, because I'm a little bit of a historian, and I'm like, this is not getting anywhere. This has been like this. If you look at the copyright on this pamphlet, it's 1994. Hate crimes did not start with 9/11. I'm sorry to say it, but it's been around for a long time. And what I see, the difference is, I just put it away, but it's the cell phones, right? Now we're capturing this, and people who have not seen these things in the 90s are now seeing it. And so I just selected that just to make that point. This is not getting bad, but it's been bad. This hate crimes have been around for a long time, not since 9/11. But thank you for sharing. The next one?
Let me just,
Yes.
this is why NJHRIC is magical, because we don't know that. And the one thing we know what to say is, you don't know where you're going until you know where you've been. But I think this archival project is going to show you where you've been, and it gives a guide to those that come after us, should they know about this. So all we can do is celebrate HRIC and expand it in every possible way.
Of course, yes, thank you. Thank you. And then, Jose, you remember anything about the Advocates for Educational Reform you could share?
Yeah, that's one of the slogans that I used to, in one of the campaigns that I was involved in with the Board of Education. I ended up serving on the Board of Education on and off for over 20 years in the city of Camden. It was an elected board, and despite the machine, I somehow was always able to win. And this is just one of the flyers that we put together, I don't even remember the year, that we put together for our campaign.
Thank you. And next up we have the New Jersey Latino Leadership Conference. When I was looking through the records, I see that there was a lot about the New Jersey Latino Leadership Conference. Could you share with us what you remember about the conference and maybe how many years it was held?
I'm one of the founding members of the Latino Leadership Alliance of New Jersey, who was around for about a good 15, 20 years in activity, if you will. And it was the first kind of alliance, the first kind of Latino leadership political arm of New Jersey that literally put on the table the landscape of the Latino community, its needs, and its struggles. And literally, after that kind of fizzled out a little bit, that's when the Latino Action Network, the C4, kind of came into play. A lot of the leaders that were part of that alliance evolved into the C4, Latino Action Network, which now continues that legacy. It continues to have annual Latino legislative assemblies at Rutgers every year around March, first Saturday in March if we're lucky, and we put it on the map again. And we have a good 200-300 people there every year. And this past year, we even didn't put signs on the doors because we didn't want trouble, and we still had a turnout of about 200-300 people. But it's so intense now, all of this mess that's going on, to be diplomatically polite, that we are very aware of protecting our community as well.
When you were speaking, an image flashed through my mind, and it's not something you'll find on the archives. I remember when I first got to Camden in '73, shortly thereafter, I went to a citywide community meeting involved politics. And I remember in the image that I have that most of the people, or at least 50% of the people there, were community people. They weren't the leaders, you know, the political leaders. They were there, those few that existed at the time. But the majority of the people were just common folk. The one had come to the city of Camden in the 50s. And there was everybody who knew Doña Juana who lived down the street, who had a connection in City Hall, and if you had a problem, you went to her. And they were the ones that really ran the meeting. And as time went on, you saw less and less of them, and then you got the professional leaders, nothing against them, I was one of them, become more and more prevalent, speaking for the community.
I think that's something we need to get back, though. We do represent and we do fight, and you don't necessarily know that as abuela from whatever Halsey Street or whatever. You don't know the fight that's going on because there's a complete disconnect between the fight and common people. And I've been in this for almost 40 years now, but I'm only 35, right? I've been in this for almost 40 years, and it's taught me to draw out communities and teach them, give them little pieces of something that they can actually go back home with and do something about. Don't go up here about what's a bill, what's a law, what's a this, who's a commission. Don't do that to somebody who's just from the block. You know, give them a reason to come back. Give them a purpose to join you somehow in small ways so that they can learn on their own and develop their own messaging.
One other example. I remember going to one of the first, if not the first, Puerto Rican Congress convention. They would have a convention, and people from all over the state, you know, Bradley Beach, Atlantic City, Perth Amber, all the communities would send delegations, not one or two people. You're talking about 15 people from Canyons, 15 people from here and there, and they were all community people. They were not leadership conference or leadership organization. These were the common people electing representatives to serve on the Boricua Board, Congress. And that's the kinds of changes that are occurring. And one of the things that I may speak about later is that we are now a leadership of statistics, while then we were a community of stories. And so we have to think about that.
I wouldn't go that far. The foundation, if you go to our website, Land Foundation, you'll see that our work is literally putting the messages of what the Latino community needs now in the different arenas where we are, so that we're not, I've never been a submissive, and I never will be. I will always speak for my people, and I will always speak to my people first before I speak for them. I will not to them, excuse me. I will not speak to them or for them or at them until I speak with them. And that will always be Cuqui.
Thank you. Yes. So, he looks at me weird. What is this? So when I wanted to bring this out to show, this is one of our older documents. It is a copy of a birth certificate from Puerto Rico. And in your papers, and this is why it's important to donate your materials, right? And the importance of our job in documenting and making these resources available, because even our donors might forget what's in the collection, right? So when I found these birth certificates, it had a little note from your cousin, who apparently maybe she was doing a genealogy, a family tree, and she found these of your grand aunts. Exactly, now you remember, yes. So here's birth certificates. So the archive is a place for genealogy, and this is an example of some of the materials we have. But I find these interesting because they're so different from my birth certificate. My birth certificate gives no recognition to my parents. It simply says Yesenia López, 1116 something, and Lady of Lourdes Hospital. Like, that is all the information you have on my birth certificate. But here, you have parents' names, you have your parents' place of birth, you know, and all of this information is really key whenever we're looking to do genealogical work and look for our ancestors. So I appreciate you, donating those materials that we have them here. And now we can let our kids and grandkids know that they're here in case they ever want to check them out. Next. And Cuqui, now we have the campaign for American citizenship. Is this similar to the one we showed earlier?
It is similar, but it was one that we tried to get funding to have the member agencies do citizenship classes throughout New Jersey. So I don't remember the number of agencies that participated, but they were teaching English so that they could pass the citizenship exam test.
Wonderful. Next. And then our bilingual education fact sheet. You guys might have heard when I read off José Delgado's biography. He's a big advocate for bilingual education. You want to share some words about your role in bilingual education in the state?
One word, I was a student of bilingual education. I studied under a lot of great people in the state of New Jersey and in the national level, because I served on the National Advisory Council for 3 years. So I was always learning about bilingual, bicultural education, connecting it to my own really horrible experiences in a classroom, sitting there with people talking and you not knowing what the hell anybody was saying, and laughing inappropriately at the wrong time. Anyway, so my whole job was learning and then disseminating information to the rest of the community. One thing to note, there is a Carmen Morales, she's an assemblywoman from Essex. She's introduced legislation to restructure or return the Office of Bilingual Education to the Department of Education. As a result of that office being eliminated, what's happening at the local level is horrendous. The situations that we had in the 60s and the 70s that gave rise to a push for bilingual education is happening now, despite the fact that we have a bilingual education law, despite the fact that we have administrative code. There are many situations at the local level that are not pretty at all. And it reminds me of what's in my own district, and I'm talking about Camden. In my own district reminds me of what I was going through. So it's still a problem.
Still a problem. And then we have here the Juvenile Justice Conference. You were invited to serve as a moderator for a panel, and I think this is actually the first Juvenile Justice Conference. Not ringing a bell?
Well, I've been in so many. That's probably the beginning of where we're evolving to today. In the 90s, the Juvenile Justice Commission used to have an annual conference at the Law Center about minority disproportionality of the juvenile justice system. And they would look at it from all the angles on how to progress minority and progress policies and reduce minority overrepresentation of juveniles in the Juvenile Justice Commission. By the year 2000, that's probably 95, 94, but there was always at the Law Center. By the year 2000, we took that model and we met for the first time. The Hispanic directors had a practice of meeting with every new governor that took seat. And they would sit with the Department of Human Services, they would sit with the Department of Health, they would sit with every department and say, as far as the CBOs go, this is what our needs are. What will your department do about it? In the year 2000, we added to that collective meeting with the new governors and their commissioners. The governor would say, hey, go meet with them and see what they want, right? In the year 2000, we actually added the New Jersey Department of Corrections for the very first time. And we sat down with the very first black commissioner of the state of New Jersey for the Department of Corrections, and that's really a mouthful if you think about the department that we're talking about. And we sat before him with about 15 of our CBO directors, and we said, hey, you have too many Latinos in your prisons. What you gonna do about it? Coming back to he's the first black commissioner in the state of New Jersey. He had his legal people over there, and we had our directors over here. We was his very first meeting as a new commissioner. He looked at them, he looked at us, he scratched his head. He said, "You think you got problems?" Right? So from there, 2 years later, in 2002, we created a similar event called the New Jersey Community Corrections Working Summit, Impacting Communities of Color. And I was the program chair of that group. And we laid out an action agenda for the state of New Jersey from law enforcement to reentry, which at that point in time, reentry was not a word in 2003. And we said, this, according to people of color, is how you should fix this disproportionality of people of color in the criminal legal system. Fast forwarding to right now, just to watch how history goes, just this past January, we had a 20 years later Working Summit 25, where we looked at all of the legislation that we achieved between 2000 to 2025, and where we are now, and where we should be in the next 20 years. One of those reports that you could see on landfoundation.org. We released it at the Returning Citizen Support Group here in Newark on Juneteenth, and it's available for your review. I also sit on the board of the Returning Citizen Support Group. I'm the secretary of their board. And yeah. So just to keep it short, because that I could sit here till tomorrow and talk to you about it. And those of you, and some of you know me, know that I can really do that, so I'm going to shut up now. But please look at the report. I challenge you to criticize it or its recommendations, and see how you could get involved with that as well.
So you just reminded me real quick, Cookie, that when you guys sat for the oral history project and we had our bios written up, it was about 2008, 2010, somewhere around there. And it's time to update it. It's time to update it. I mean, you've been active and have remained active. You as well, Jose, since then. And so hopefully we can
I've slowed down a little
connect
bit.
again. Say it again.
I've slowed down a little bit. But I want a do-over on mine.
We can do that.
Yeah, yeah.
We can definitely do that.
I want to add, I met Dr. Olga Wagenheim, Jimenez Wagenheim, and her husband inside Trenton State Prison. That's how I found out about this. She was in there with her little no justice, no peace stuff, teaching prisoners how to speak Spanish, teaching prisoners about whatever rights they could have. And that's where I met that beautiful, magical woman who founded this organization right here. Right here. She's a genuine inspiration to all of us, and may her memory live forever. You better have some stories on her and her husband.
We absolutely will. We have her papers, and I actually
Books.
we have her book collection, her vinyl album collection, and I had the privilege of visiting with her in her when she had a condo in San Juan, and I got to visit with her for about 3 or 4 days. We sat down and did a very nice, maybe 6-hour oral history interview with Dr. Wagenheim, and that's available in the archive as well. Yep.
It's so important for everyone here to give flowers to the people that inspire you while you're alive.
Yep.
I'll get emotional, so I'm going to shut up. Please give your flowers now to whoever you are, and you are in the audience. You're in the audience just by showing up, and by those who couldn't be here, who stay in touch with this and other things as it relates to advocacy. Give flowers while people are alive.
Thank you for that. Yep. We have another slide, or no? Right. So, not dismissing you yet. I do want to hear, because we have not talked about what inspired you guys to even make this donation. I'm hearing now that you even learned about the space when you met Dr. Wagenheim and Cal Wagenheim, and I believe they taught at Rahway.
Yeah, I was in Trenton, so I didn't get inside Rahway yet. I've been there since.
So you heard, just in case you guys didn't know, Dr. Wagenheim lived, breathed, and taught everything HRIC. When I was brought on at the start of the early 2000s, she brought me along to a couple of events, and she spoke about the HRIC so much that people used to run away from her when they saw her coming. Really, really. And one of our former chairs of the HRIC, may he rest in peace, he coined the term Wagenheimed. So if you've ever heard Dr. Wagenheim speak about the HRIC, she's so passionate about it that if you've ever heard it, you've been Wagenheimed. But we, absolutely give her flowers, and as well as Ingrid Betancourt. She recently retired after 40 plus years of service here, and really they are, like I said before, you say legends, they're legends, here for the Research Center. We really appreciate, all of their efforts. And why we work so hard to continue, right, the work that they laid the foundation for. But tell me, please, you met them there, but what inspired you to donate the HTA records? And another question, or the second part to that is, how did you decide what materials you wanted to donate?
I was Wagenheimed, seriously Wagenheimed, and I was also, as I mentioned, the first hire of Daniel Santo Pietro. So I was in charge of the boxes and the files and all of that. And I knew they were going to get lost because we were there from like almost 20 years. And I didn't want them to get lost. But I'd like to take us back a little further than that. In our history, if you think about it, there is no history from the Taíno culture. It's all been erased. And I would like to just say, and this is really, it is that Taíno destroying our history that kind of brought me to this, and the Wagenheiming just made it easier. But I want to explain to us something, because we talk about Hispanic culture, but I'd like to talk for a moment about Taínos. What we don't know, what even the word Taíno means. In Taíno, Tai means good or noble. And no means people. The very word, Taíno, means good people. When you say good day, good sun, hello, good day, Tai Gui, good sun, you're saying hello, good morning. That's what you're saying. So everybody say with Tai Gui. Tai Gui. Mabuika. Mabuika, hello. Mabrika, welcome. Yayabo, Buma. May the Creator be with you all. Yayabo, Huma. May the Creator be with you. Minanichi. Minanichi means my heart. Let us continue to go back and find those things as well. And because of the lost history of this nation, it made me know how magical not only this Wagenheiming was, but just recording the history of our trajectories will not be done in any other way. How many HRICs do you know are out there?
We're the only one in the state. We're the only one in the state, and Dr. Wagenheim did her research before establishing the HRIC here along with Ingrid, and she didn't find any institution documenting the history of Latinos in New Jersey. Actually, she said that she visited like the Historical Society and they were still documenting the Dutch. So she knew that there was no way they were going to get to documenting our presence in the state. You have a question?
I have more Taino words. I think I should give them to her so you could put it somewhere on some list.
Yes, yes. Yes, Mother?
She wants you. She said, you let him eat. I want to eat.
Salud.
I'd love to, and I thank you for that, because I think that draws us closer together. If you look at Tainos, where did the indigenous people of Puerto Rico, Jamaica, Haiti, Dominican Republic come from? And they were going back and forth in boats between Mexico and Honduras and Brazil, and we're all mixed together. And if you go back through the bloodline of the Tainos too, you see them in Arawaks, you see them in Lakota, you see them, and as you continue to go back, we're all connected. And that's what makes me so mad at us when we're doing the paper bag test, or when we're saying, oh, I don't have that in me. We're all connected. And that's what makes it so part of my life's work, to remind us, if not slam it in your face, that we're all connected. And if you really even do your own ancestry, you'll find yourself. As the further you go back, you're going to find yourself everywhere. Everywhere. So that's just been a deep passion of mine, and to also see how amazing and natural our cultures are to, you know, to the land, even, let me just make a plug here. Our leaders are women. Atabe is the woman goddess of our nation. She's a woman, and many of our tribes were led by women. I'm sorry, guys, I had to do that. But my true message is how seriously connected we all are to each and every one of us. And this mess that we're playing with today, because somebody taught us about George Washington, we gotta let that go, because you're not learning your own history. And this is the place to archive it. So it's not just me or Jose, it's every single one of you that have a story that should be making her go bald with all the stuff you give her. Because we have to, there's no other place to connect our histories and show how much we are all and always have been connected.
Thank you. Thank you. Yep. Jose, so let me tell you guys about Jose Delgado. When I did a research project, when I was hired to work with the archive, I was hired to do a survey of the Puerto Rican communities of New Jersey. Because they had this idea, Ingrid and Olga had this idea to create the safe haven, and when they brought it to the director of the library at the time, Dr. Alex Boyd, he said, it's a wonderful idea, but you're gonna have to prove that there is a necessity to create one. And how do we prove it? Well, they had to hire someone to go out and survey the community. So we decided to split the state into 3 and focus my attention for a year in South Jersey, a year in Central New Jersey, and 2 years in Northern New Jersey. I met with individuals and organizations, or leaders of organizations from as far south as, let's say, Atlantic County, even though I know we have communities in Cape May County, all the way up north. When I reached out, and how did I do it? Wait, I was given a list of Latino organizations in the state of New Jersey that was compiled by the Hispanic Directors Association of New Jersey. So I was blank calling people. José Delgado's name came across my way, and I reached out to individuals with letters, followed up with phone calls if I had their phone numbers. And when I reached out to José Delgado, he was very excited about meeting with me and spoke about the materials he had. We put out a survey. But here's what's really great. I don't know if you guys ever heard about the snowball effect. José not only got on board to participate in the survey, but he turned around and gave me another list of about 20 people in South Jersey that said, I'm gonna make sure that they answer you because they need to be documented. And for that, I am forever grateful. I appreciate that time, yes. The same exact thing with Cuqui. She definitely, we got the records of the Puerto Rican Action Board, right? So not only are they contributing their own record, but they have an interest in making sure that the community is documented by making sure that everyone else also participates. But tell me, what is it that inspired you to donate to the archive?
You did, you asked me.
I wish it was that easy all the time.
You said, you got anything to contribute? And my first reaction said, no. But then you said, oh, yes, you do. I said, oh, okay. And I did. And I was a little hesitant because I didn't think anything that I had was of value. And that's, the jury's still out on that. But I realized that everything that I had didn't belong to me, because if you're involved in community service in the community, anything that you write, anything that you collect is a part of that involvement. So it's not really mine. And I mean, I have it, but it's not really mine. So I said, if I keep it, God knows what's going to happen when I go where I'm going. It'll probably be put in the trash or forgotten somewhere. So I said the best way to do it is to give it to an institution whose job it is to preserve it.
Thank you for that, yes. So one thing I will share with you all is that reaction of, I don't have anything, is the same reaction I get from everyone, because we do not realize that the materials that we have are historical, right? And these are not, we're not looking for anything financially valuable, right? Because this is what people think of when they think of history. It has to have some kind of financial value to it, right? We're looking for those ticket stubs that you saved for this event you went to. We're looking for flyers, photographs, letters, brochures, all of the materials that you all keep for some memory's sake. You put it in a drawer somewhere. Maybe sometimes you display it. But eventually what ends up happening with these things when we're no longer here, they're discarded, they're destroyed. Our kids don't care about it. Sorry. Sorry, people don't like to hear that, but it's the truth, right? Our kids grow up and they have their own group of materials that they've collected and don't have the space for yours. So why not donate it to an institution who can make these materials and resources available for researchers? When people produce movies and write books about us, what resources do they have, to reference? The HRIC is the place for that. We have those resources, and we hope to continue to grow that. So just make sure that as you go home and you start playing around with these papers, consider the HRIC to donate.
Let me just add one quick thing. Another way of looking at an archive is to think about it as a scrapbook.
Right.
Your community scrapbook. And I have scrapbooks from different parts of my life, and all of you probably have that, or some of you. It's the same thing. Something that only means something to you. A pair of tickets, a memory that you have. Well, it's not shared with other people, and that's what an archive is. Like I said before, it's a scrapbook. Think of it that way.
Thank you. And so, do we have any questions from the audience? I know we've had them throughout, but if we don't have, yep, there we go, yes. Thanks, thanks.
I just wanted to ask, like, how much of like the archives, like, how much of it is digitized, and how much of it do folks have to like go in and like sit down with, you know, like physically?
So that is a very good question. And actually, I remember, he asked how much of the archives has been digitized. And I remember around 2005, early on in digitization, I was asked about digitizing, and it is such a huge task. Luckily, the library received a grant from the Carnegie Foundation. Don't quote me on the year, but it was funding to get the digital archives established here in the library. And with that funding, it was North focused, right? It was funding to start the digital collection here, and we were to digitize collections reflective of the North Latino community. There were other departments that also participated in digitization in the New Jersey room and the Philip Roth, the special collections. So all of us, all of the departments got to contribute, but it had to be materials, like I mentioned, with a North focus. And as I started out today, our collections reflect the state of New Jersey. And so to answer your question, we have 13 collections that have been digitized and added to the library, to the website. And with timing and finance, we will continue and add to it. But 13 collections, I'm gonna tell you, is hardly anything compared to the materials that we have in the archive. We have 55 collections. We have over 500 cubic feet of materials. So there is definitely a lot more to dig into than there is online. But what we have online are thousands of photographs from the community, not just in Newark, because we've added to it. We have oral histories, over 100 interviews of individual Latino leaders throughout the state of New Jersey, all available on our digital site. And if you have a specific research topic, I encourage you to please reach out to our archivist. I don't see him. The gentleman who was running the tech here, Hoover Ayala, and he can definitely point you in the right direction and say, this is what we have digitally, and if you'd like to come in, you can reference these resources. Thank you.
I have a question.
Yes.
So, in your archives, and it's a little loaded because I'm from Northern Jersey, but through this research, what have you found? Who were the Latino community that you have met? Northern Jersey and Southern Jersey.
Say it again.
Who is this community? Who is this Latino community? ¿Qué encontraron ustedes era la comunidad latina? Like, ¿qué los trajo aquí? ¿Entiende? If you could just give us like a little tiny profile of the Latino from Northern Jersey, Latino from Southern Jersey, and maybe Central.
So I think your question is either agriculture or or factories, right? And in North Jersey, what I found is that a large majority of the Latino population were transients from New York, right? And they came to work in the factories that we have in Northern New Jersey. And in South Jersey, and I'm not talking about out west because there's agriculture out northwest, right? Like our community in Dover. But in South Jersey, the focus was the agriculture, farm laborers. Yep.
But we have to remember that we also had Campbell soup, and there was a saying in Camden that from the fields to the can, some Puerto Rican was involved,
Right.
because that's the way it was. So originally it was just on the farms with the contract with the government, Commonwealth of Puerto Rico, and then those guys stayed, had families, and more people then went to work in the different factories, specifically Campbell soup. NRCA, and a few other places.
Well, I have a comment to the young man that asked the question, and to piggyback off of Yesenia, the Carnegie Grant was actually given to the North Public Library in 2016 for $1 million.
Thank you.
Yesenia, I have a question, and I think you may have shared it with me or one of your staff people once before. You're encouraging people to add their records to the archives, and with the goal of sharing with researchers what our community has been about. Can you share how much, how many requests you routinely get from researchers, from education, for, universities, etc., for the kinds of information that are in the archives?
You asking for numbers? So we are frequently visited by, I'm going to say, students, right? We've been lucky to identify several professors who have incorporated the usage of the archive, be it oral histories or archival materials, into their syllabus, so that by their curriculum, they have to visit the North Public Library and do some research on there. We get a lot of those requests. Others are, for example, something like a researcher doing a documentary, looking for photographs or information. But we can pick that up. I think, we do not get asked enough for our resources. I'm going to admit that. And I'm really looking forward to the construction and the opening of the new space, because I know that's where it's going to pick up. So some of you who do not know, I mentioned la sala panamericana está localizado en el primer piso, but el archivo is on the other, through a breezeway on another side of the building, and it's not easily accessible, right? If a researcher wants to come in and do research, we have to make an appointment, meet them in the sala, bring them over to the archive. But the new construction of the new space is going to change that. And so that's what we're looking forward to, increasing our presence in the community and making sure that basically people know that we have these resources. Surely. Thank you.
So I might add to that, the foundation's offices are at Kane. And Kane is right now merging with New Jersey City University. And our offices sit with a Latino student organization called CRECE. The executive director, I believe, is Frank Argote Frere, the author of Batista, the Cuban dictator, and he's the chairman of our board. So they just had their first Hispanic Heritage Day in Kane. We're having a Latino Leadership Summit in Kane on October 11th. I think you should come. I think you should meet with them as well, not only for just bringing the archives to them, but getting interns from them too. So we'll talk offline, but it's important for us to know some of these things even publicly.
And Kane is going to have an Afro-Latino event October 10th.
Nice.
Yeah. Any questions?
Nice. Actually, and if you guys have, listen, we love doing outreach. Anybody who knows me knows that I look for any excuse to leave the office. So if you have an opportunity where we can come and present, or even host, if it's just to host an info and a resource table to share information about our resources, definitely let us know, and we will make our best effort to be there and be present and make those connections. Thank you. Yep, we have another question.
Thank you. Well, since you brought it up, I'm the one that's hosting the program that's going to be on the 10th. Over at the Branchbrook Library, and it is called Tejidos, which means woven, talking about the woven tapestry of African and Latin Caribbean culture. And so please join us.
Thank you. Okay, so I would ask, Cuqui, you have any last words you'd like to share with us?
Yeah. So I'm going to be giving you archives for 20 years worth of advocacy from Latino leadership dealing with the criminal legal system hand in hand with Black leadership here in the state of New Jersey. And it's significant stuff. That's number one. The second thing that I'm going to donate to you is another campaign that we ran related to Hurricane Maria. I chaired a group of first responders. I'm a former national secretary to the National Coalition of Latino Officers. So while I play games with prisons, I played games with law enforcement as well back then. But what happened was we literally achieved 3 missions, disaster relief missions in Puerto Rico post-Maria. And there are 3 documentaries that are already digitized and on YouTube. All I gotta do is hand it to you. But the reason why you haven't heard of these missions where we built routes for first responders and humildes and poor people in 3 separate campaigns is because we waited till all the press went away. We waited till all the shiny people went away because we wasn't there for glory. We were there to serve our community. And that's going to be something really cool for your archives too, because it is lost. We even tried to air it in the state. We did air it in the State Theater in New Brunswick on October 23rd, 2020, to try to get more funding for the materials. We didn't. We went on our own vacation. We didn't get paid to do this or anything. But what happened was, on that year and that day, when we aired the documentary in the State Theater, North Carolina hit a hurricane. This one was hitting a hurricane. That one, you can't keep your eye on the prize anymore. So that's kind of what dwindled it off at that point in time. But still, it's something that we could always bring back together. I have the team from New York, Pennsylvania, Delaware, Puerto Rico teams. That's a different story and a different workshop, which I'd be happy to show us how connected we continue to be.
I had prepared some remarks, but many of the topics that I had have been spoken about, so I'll skip down to just mention a few things. First of all, obviously the archives is the documentation of history, but it's also, if you study them, it tells you how we've evolved. And that's very important because it's not necessarily a look in the past, it gives you a perspective of where you are now. And that's really the importance of a community scrapbook. Forgive me for hesitating, but I'm trying to cut through some of the stuff. So the importance of an archive is what are the questions? In other words, the questions really determine the value of an archive. If we just have archives collecting dust somewhere, well then it's not much of a tool. And that's what the archives are. They're a tool. Times change, and the archives will tell you that, but we also have to look at, have the questions changed? If we're still asking the same question, what does that say about are we moving in the right direction? The other thing that it does, it tells us how we are different than our parents or our grandparents, the people that came before, that are in the archives. What are the events and the individuals that lived many years ago when I was young? And I'm not speaking necessarily about the first Hispanic city council person, or the first Hispanic school board member, or the mayor, or the first assembly person. I'm talking about the first Hispanic that ran for public office knowing that he had almost zero chance of winning. Who are the real heroes? Those that ignored the odds, or those who stood on their shoulders and won. Who were these people? Who are their names? They're probably not in the archives, but they're probably in somebody's desk, in somebody's scrapbook, an old campaign pamphlet like the one that was seen there from Juan de los Palotes, who ran in Vineland, 20 years ago and got 25 votes. He's important too. And so we have to look for him also. Where our community is entering entering or is in the third generation, but that measurement is not very a good measure because our community is changing. Newcomers are coming in, and because of intolerance, political intolerance, or because of Mother Nature, hurricanes. So our community continues to grow and to diversify. The new members have the same needs that the Hispanic community had in the 1960s, in the 1970s, when there were community organizations all over the place. Now there are not that many. Yet the older and more established segments of our community are now doctorates. They're doctors, they're lawyers, they're PhDs, we're middle class, you live in the suburbs, and we're rapidly integrating ourselves in the New Jersey culture. But yet our community is still old because there are new ones coming in. What are we doing for them? You know, and that's a question that all of us have to answer. How do we make sure that we recognize that the race has just started for some of us? So there's a real danger that we'll be divided based on our time of arrival. And this is the kind of division, this is the kind of gulf that we have to at least acknowledge potentially existing. Because once you acknowledge something, then someone smarter than you will perhaps address it. Are we going to be like two ships passing in the fog of time? We have to ask that. And I'll give you an example, during the last half of the 20th century, the Latino community, nationwide, united behind the civil rights of non-English speaking students. Everyone, and I mean everyone throughout the nation, all Latinos, were behind the effort to give these students a thorough and efficient education. Bilingual, bicultural education was the fruit of those efforts. But in 2025, like in 1960, thousands of children in the state of New Jersey are not receiving the kind of education they should be receiving because they don't speak English or they have a different culture. We have seen many people agitate for change, and that has to continue. The new leadership, the PhD, the doctors, the middle class in our community are looking over the horizon, as they should. That's progress, and we thank them for that. But we have to also think that perhaps we have not advanced, we have not progressed as much as we think we have. There's a lot of talk about the new horizons and everywhere we have to go. Everyone is geared up for new battles, yet we seem to be unaware of the continued war waged against the most defenseless against us, our children. Before we skip toward a sunny future, we had better look back and lend a hand to those still fighting the old wars. Thank you.
Ante todo, muy buenas tardes a las personas concurridas a esta cita. Para mí es una cita muy importante porque yo soy latina y desde que yo llegué aquí a este país y a este estado, he conocido la actividad de la biblioteca. Yo no sé mucho de esto. ¿Ya?
Sí, ahí.
Aquí, ok. Ante todo, buenas tardes a toda la comunidad que está reunida aquí para celebrar la información de todos los latinos. Yo llevo aquí poco tiempo, nada más que 9 años, y siempre he venido aquí a la biblioteca y me han ayudado en todo. Pero no solamente eso, no es el personal, no es la calidad humana, sino la historia que reúne esta biblioteca. Yo vine a una actividad que me quedé impresionada. Un periódico de cuando se hizo la biblioteca, las fotografías, las personas, los que quedaban de esa generación, los que siguieron esa generación. Y fue una cosa tan emocionante para mí, ver que se mantienen intactas las raíces de cuando se hizo la biblioteca. Cómo era chiquitica, cómo se fue ampliando, cuáles fueron sus primeros directores, cómo organizaron la línea para que toda la comunidad, que en aquella época eran prácticamente muchos latinos y pocos americanos que vivían aquí porque hacía mucho frío. No es como ahora que el frío dura 2 o 3 días y después se va. Los fríos de altura. Y ahí está basado la realidad de la biblioteca, en argumentar toda aquella historia completa que se mantiene intacta, que están en los archivos, que son muy misteriosos, pero existen. Si ustedes piden una cita en unas vacaciones para sus hijos, sus nietos, alguna amistad querida que conozca la verdadera historia de Nua, aquí está, en la biblioteca. Y yo me siento muy encantada con este personal y que siempre me inviten a todas las actividades. Estoy sumamente agradecida y quiero que siga contando la biblioteca con ese entusiasmo, esos desfiles, esa información directa al instante que tú la necesitas, que te busca, no mira, va a tal lado, va a tal lugar. Eso para los latinos es muy importante. Sí, yo aprendí un poco inglés, pero no sé mucho, por eso estoy hablando en español. Yo sé que después alguien lo traduce, porque aquí siempre hay personas que hablan inglés o aprenden. Y bueno, de más está decirles lo orgullosa que me siento de vivir en Nua. Muchísimas gracias.
And the island of Vieques has not had a hospital since 2017. And anyone who needs emergency care has to go off island, and things can happen during that transport. So I look forward to those archives coming here, and thank you in advance.
Thank you. Yep. So unless we have other comments or questions. Yes, Ernest?
I wanted to thank you for being here, and I think your message was excellent about the new generations, but the new generations also need to learn from the old generations, because I think the history has been missing in our curriculums, and we need to talk about how you guys were able to confront the challenges of those days, and the challenges of today probably are even bigger now than those days, so how we can learn from you leadership and your civil rights struggles to confront the challenges that the Latino community confronts today.
Thank you. Real quick, did you want to comment?
I just want to, in Taino, say thank you. So remember, ha home. Thank you. Ha home. J-A-J-O-M. Ha home. Thank you, Taino.
Ha home. Thank you. So conseguimos un teléfono en el baño de las mujeres. We found a cell phone in the women's restroom. If you lost your phone, please come see me. I have it here. Oh. What's on the screen? It looks like that, right? Exactly. Thank you, guys. And we have time. Please check out our exhibit. Enjoy some refreshments. Hoover, if you could hook up the music again, we'll listen to some vinyl recordings. Thank you, everyone.
How important is today's day for the community?
Today is very important because we celebrate the National Hispanic Heritage Month, and I'm proud of being in the celebration.
I think the most important will be the opening of the space. That has been a goal for probably 25 years. So once the space is open and we have that beautiful opening, we will be seeing the culmination of a lot of goals that the Friends of the HRIC had in the library.